All right, everybody. So look, I was actually really on the fence about even making this video in the first place. I actually had about a 25-30 minute long video that I already recorded last night, but I had a lot of low energy. I feel like crap right now. Head cold, allergies kicking my butt right now. But don't worry, y'all. I just cracked open a cold one. Yeah, it's A&W. Don't judge me here. But hey, it's still a beer, technically, right? Today, I'm going to talk about Starfield. And again, was very nervous to make this video for obvious reasons. Long story short, I like the game, yes. Do I wish they would have done maybe a few things a little bit differently? Also, yes. But at the same time, I understand why they went about things the way they did. And I think overall, for the kind of game that Starfield is and for everything it is not, I think it works, okay? I think it works. Can we get some gameplay up here just so it's not just me sitting here the whole time? Okay, great, good. Okay, thanks. All right, everybody. So let's just sort of just jump in here right now, okay? Now, I've seen multiple things online saying that the real game starts after you beat it the first time and you move on to the new game plus. I was like, that sounds kind of dumb. Why would the real game start after you beat it? But now that I've beaten the game after about 15-20 hours and I'm starting the new game plus, overall I would say that I'm enjoying the gameplay now a little bit more than I was previously. And here's the thing too, y'all. That's not to say that the main storyline in Starfield is bad. It's just that coming from games like The Elder Scrolls, in Oblivion, you're a prisoner, then all of a sudden you find out you're the only person that could help the Emperor save the world from Mehru's Dagon. And the Oblivion Gates in Skyrim, you're about to get your head cut off, and holy crap, it's a freaking dragon. In Fallout, you're going about your life, and then all of a sudden, oh, a nuclear bomb goes off, better get to that bunker right now, the vault. And in Starfield, I'm not going to spoil the story for anybody out there that doesn't play it, but at least to me, it didn't have that initial storyline hook that made you go, whoa, this isn't right. Something's going on. Let's explore that. Just kind of get tossed into it, if that makes sense. And I guess you could argue that in the Elder Scrolls and Fallout, you also get kind of just thrown into it. But from what I've been seeing in Starfield with the main story, the little introduction quest and everything, there isn't something that jumps out at you to say, hey, this is where the story's going. So you play a huge role in this. You know what I mean? Again, do I think it's bad? No. It just didn't have that initial hook. But after you really get into it, get into the weeds of it, and really figure out what's going on, it does take a few hours, in my opinion. But once you get there, it's like, oh, okay, see, now I'm picking up what you're laying down, and I get it. I get it now. You know what I mean? Now, as far as gameplay performance goes, on my PC, I had no issues whatsoever. And in case y'all happen to miss my setup tour video, which y'all can find right up here, I have a 5900X AMD Ryzen 5900X, 32 gigs of RAM, and an RTX 4080 from MSI. Now, I did find some weird anomalies. Whenever I was playing the game on the Ultra preset with no FSR, I was only getting 40-45 frames per second, which to me makes no sense because for a game like Starfield, it doesn't look, ultra realistic. So I'm like, this is the same kind of engine that they're using in the Elder Scrolls and Fallout games. What's going on here? So I actually think there truly might be an issue with the Ultra preset on this game. But just to, for giggles and everything, I went ahead and bumped the graphics down to the high preset. And to my eyes, last time I checked, I have perfect 20/20 vision. And the game looks damn near identical between high and ultra. But my frame rate never drops below 60. And I want to just say that with a game like this, with a game like Starfield, Elder Scrolls, Fallout, any sort of, any kind of single player adventure game, I always cap my frame rate in games with the NVIDIA driver at 60 frames per second because it's not a competitive game. If it was Call of Duty, Destiny, yeah, sure, 120 frames per second all day, every day. Before an open world exploration game, no. 60 for me is all I need. So on the high preset, again with no FSR at my monitor's native resolution, never drop below 60, which is awesome, which is really cool to say. So again, maybe there just might be an issue with the ultra preset that I'm not aware of, but yeah, again, high preset, it looks just as good to my eyes and no performance hiccups whatsoever. Now, that's not to say there wasn't the occasional glitch. There were quite a few times actually where I would be talking to an NPC and they would be facing the other way, or you would go to talk to them if they were like walking towards you and their walking animation would freeze and they would just like glide towards you. You know what I mean? So like there's that. Again, not really a big deal. It's really not, just something you might want to be aware of, you know? Now, as far as the gunplay goes, I actually do think that Starfield has some of the best combat I've had the pleasure to experience in any Bethesda game, and that includes the Elder Scrolls, Fallout. I can see where they were going with it though, and I'm happy to say that, at least in my opinion, I think they actually finally nailed the third-person view, especially for gunfights. I just recently got into Fallout 4, and yeah, I sort of kind of wish you could, do the whole, zoom in on characters, like lock on to a certain target, but you can't do that in Starfield. But I think the gunplay is pretty good. It's satisfying. And yeah, I think it's a lot of fun. Now let's get to some things that I'm kind of sort of disappointed in. And I think I'm going to echo a lot of points some other people that were disappointed already have said. But this is just my take on those. Okay? The space flight. I know what you're going to say, Terry. It's not a No Man's Sky. It's not a Star Citizen. It's not even an Elite Dangerous. It's not a space sim. Trust me, I know that. We all know that. And that's not what I'm saying. I just sort of kind of wish that the space travel in game actually meant something, because anything you could do in space, like going to a planet, going to a moon, you don't actually need to go into space to do that. You can just open up the star map and fast travel to literally anywhere you want to go. And to be brutally honest, I'm not really sure why you would even go into space at all. Like, yeah, there are a couple key things where you have to do some dogfights or, whatever it is in space. But as far as like actually needing to go to outer space because you just want to go there, I never really found myself going, man, I can't wait to go up to outer space again. It just wasn't that fun to me. It really wasn't. And the whole thing about not being able to land on planets, fly to planets, all that jazz, look, I understand why they had to do that the way they did. This, of course, is probably a limit to their engine that they've been using for years now, just adding on, tweaking for new generation games and new platforms, all that stuff, but I think it's come to a point to where Bethesda, for their newer games, like for their next generation games, I think they might have to move to a brand new game engine, because it seems to me like Starfield is pushing this engine to its limits, and sometimes it might show a little bit, you know what I mean? But space combat, it's fun. It's not bad at all. I think the ships feel really good whenever you're in flight, so that's kind of cool as well. And of course, with the ship building tools, you can essentially build anything you want in this game, which is pretty darn cool. I haven't had a chance to really experience it for myself yet, but I saw on Twitter that somebody built an X-Wing, the Millennium Falcon. So like, and I even believe somebody built a Pelican from Halo, so that's pretty cool as well too, right? And they look pretty spot on. Yeah, it's not going to be exact, but they look pretty good. The biggest thing that I really wish they would have done with the exploration in outer space was giving us the ability to actually fly to and from a planet and a moon. In other words, what I'm saying, and I'm going to show up, I'm going to show some footage here, is that you are essentially limited to the area around the thing you're at in space. So like, let's say if you go to go to a planet and you're in outer space around the planet, you are limited to that space around the planet. Like if you're right next to a planet and you turn your ship and you can physically like see a moon from the planet, you can't actually fly to the moon. You have to either click on the moon and say travel there, and then there will be a little, cutscene animation of your ship flying to it. Or you can open up the star map and fast travel to that moon from the planet. But you can't actually travel from the planet to the moon and vice versa. Now, I'm not saying like, land and all that stuff, but like you can't just in space, go back and forth, That's sort of kind of immersion breaking. But again, we all know, one more time, it's not a space sim. We get that. We get that. Now, there was one Twitch streamer that took about 7 hours of her stream to actually fly to Pluto. If I can find the video, I'll put it here for you guys to check it out.
Is this how I meet God? Like, you think he's on the other side? Ooh. It was flat. Pluto confirmed flat. Flat Earth. We just went right through it. Wait, but it still says 0. Hang on. Am I inside Pluto? What happens if I turn around from here? It still says 0 in front of me. I must be inside of Pluto right now. Right? But it's just invisible from the inside. Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna turn around with my engines off so I'm not actually moving. Just to see if there is any sign of Pluto behind me. We're inside of Pluto. We're definitely inside of Pluto. Okay, I expected it to, like, have something on the inside. I wonder how long does it now take to get out of Pluto?
But once she actually got to Pluto, it was just an image of the planet, and she clipped through it, and then it disappeared. Like, even if she turned around, she couldn't see it. So is it technically possible to fly to planets? I guess, sure, but they're not actually there. It's just an image of a representation of where the planet is. You know what I mean? So just, yeah. So look, with all that being said, am I having fun with Starfield? For the most part, yes. For everything that it is, I do like. I think it's a lot of fun. For everything that it isn't, I wish it was. But again, I understand why they had to do it the way they did. Okay, so if I had to give Starfield a score, and oh boy, this is the part that I'm dreading to say on the internet for the world to see here, I would have to give it a 7 out of 10. Not because I don't like the game, just because I wish the story sucked you in a little bit sooner than what it does. And you know, for you, it might have hooked you in from the very beginning. To me, it was a very, very slow burn, but once it got good, it got good. I just wish it would have done that for me a little earlier on in the storyline, you know? And again, there are some bugs, there are a couple hiccups, but this is by far one of the most stable, bug-free Bethesda games I think I've ever played. And that includes the Skyrim Special Edition, Anniversary Edition, whatever you want to call it, even the newer and improved Skyrim, you know what I mean? Which, in my opinion, is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So yes, with all that being said, everybody, if you agree, disagree, or just whatever, sound off in the comments below. You always know I'd love to hear your feedback. And speaking of feedback, are you guys and gals out there enjoying Starfield? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Let me know in the comments below, and I will catch you guys and gals next time.